Alright, good morning guys. Friday, March 1st. Pretty early morning here. And I'm having trouble finding somebody that wants to put this roof on. So, looks like it's gonna be me. This is a double bubble radiant layer. This kind of acts like drip stop or anything else on other metal roofs. And you're supposed to install that with at least 3/4, maybe an inch of sag. That creates an air barrier between the metal roof and that reflective foil layer there. And that adds a little bit of insulation value and cuts down on condensation. So we're gonna put that up as you see there, and then hopefully start dragging some metal up. I've got a spacer board screwed down here, so I'll be able to drag my sheets all the way up to the top. That gives me an automatic 1.5-inch overhang, and we'll see how this goes solo this morning. Alright, little roofing update. This is going pretty good for solo work this morning. You can see here I got a little jig that I can screw to the fascia board there that gives me an automatic 1.5-inch overhang. So when I drag that up to the top, that makes that a little easier. I've got lines marked every 9 inches to make sure I'm keeping each rib in the correct location. And I've got a tape measure up top that I keep stretching over to make sure that's not walking up there. So now we've gotten to the point where I'm gonna have to make this transition right here over to the porch roof. So I've got to do a little figuring here, and then we'll go ahead and lay this porch roof metal before we continue with the upper metal. So far, so good. I'm discovering a few, I don't know if you want to call them mistakes or oversights or whatever you want to call them. But I've never built a structure like this that has all these porches and roof intersections. Our existing post frame house is it's pretty simple. No roof transitions. So now that I'm getting into roofing this, I'm having to pay attention to how my trims work. And so for instance, this transition that goes from the main pitch there down to this 212 is wider than I had accounted for. So I'm having to add a purlin there. You can see right there's the end of it. So I'll be adding that purlin all the way down to give that something to screw to. And I also screwed up at the top. My ridge cap said that it was 14-inch ridge cap. So I measured down 7 and 7 and put my first purlin centered on 7. But when I actually measured it, it only spans 12 inches. So that meant that my ridge cap is gonna fall right on the edge of that purlin. So I'm going up and putting one additional purlin up above that too. It's a little annoying, but things that if I had done this before, I wouldn't be dealing with, but better to do it now. Otherwise, when you go to put your ridge cap on, you would have nothing to screw to. So we're just having to fix little issues as we go. Alright, good morning guys. It is Saturday, March 2nd. And yesterday I got that started there on the left on the main house, and then Dad showed up and helped me get about half of the back porch done yesterday before the rain got here. So the roofing's actually going really well. I didn't want to do it myself to start with, but gonna have to, and things went pretty well yesterday. So hopefully we'll maybe get the rest of this back porch finished up today, and then we got some detail work to do right here. I'm gonna have to go ahead and do some of this soffit work while I can still reach. If you see there how close that soffit gets to the main roof, and right now I can still reach through from under here to do a little bit of fastening, so it's going to be easier to get those soffit panels up now before I carry on with the roof. So go ahead and do that. You can see we had a pretty big rainstorm last night, got things a little wet, but we'll let that dry out while we're doing some of this stuff and then get back busy roofing. Now that the rain has let up, we've had a beautiful day to work. So you can see here we're installing our radiant barrier. From everything I've read online, that insulation is useless if you put it on flat, which is what we did on that building. But if you put an air gap in it, it's like R9 or something. So plus if your roof were to condensate a little bit, it would just drop down onto that barrier and evaporate there. So instead of dropping down into your attic insulation and making a mess. So a couple more sheets here and we will be done with this back porch. And then we got to go do a little bit of work getting ready to make that transition and putting in this pitch break here. So coming along nicely. So I'm up here, there's the end of the house, there's the porch roof, and this is where our overhang hangs over the primary roof. So we're gonna go ahead and get this soffit done and get this cover piece put on right here while we can still reach through the roof. See, I was able to climb up a ladder inside the building to do a lot of this work. That's much easier to reach, and we can get a screw gun in here to put these screws in now before we put this piece of metal up here for the roof. Otherwise, there's no way to put screws in it. So, trying to work smarter. All right, that's the end of the weekend here on Sunday, March 2nd. I had planned to get all of this section up today, but we ran into a little problem with our transition trim there, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But since we were on hold there, we went ahead and did all the fasteners for this whole section here, and got fasteners done for everything that we got put up on Friday. So that's about a quarter of the roof done and all the fasteners filled in. So pretty decent progress for one weekend. Right, here's the little issue we ran into. Our metal that's cut for this section, it actually is cut long enough to come down and engage these ribs here on the porch. But we also have transition trim that holds that metal up where it can't come down to that level. So that made all that metal too long. So I'm gonna have to cut about 4 inches off of each piece for this section here before we put it up. And I only have vented closures. So for this space right down in here, I want to get some solid closures to put in there just to protect us against wind-driven rain heading back in that direction. So I didn't have those on hand, and it's Sunday, so nowhere to get them. So I wanted to make sure I got those picked up. And so next weekend we will take off on this section right here. But for this week, not a bad start. Dad down there on the four-wheeler, he was here pretty much all weekend shuttling steel up to me and helping out and babysitting, make sure I don't die. So appreciate his help as always. All right, Monday, April 1st. Back porch and back side of house roof is pretty much complete except for a few little trims. Yesterday was Easter, so didn't get anything done yesterday. Day before yesterday, Dad and I got all of this section of shorter panels installed, and that includes installing this transition piece here, which was not my favorite thing in the world to do, but you can see that has a solid closure there. I went ahead and put some sealant there, block any wind-driven rain, and then those have a closure there. And then I think I'm going to go back and pop those screws out that you see right here. I'll pop those screws out and put some double-sided butyl tape between those and that flashing there, because that's an unsealed penetration there. So today we got these last panels put up, and that finishes up the back porch, or back roof rather. So it's been a long 3 weeks of nothing getting done, but I'm glad to see some progress here. So we'll move on to the front side. Probably it may be another weekend or two because we got busy weekends coming up, but good progress for now. And by the way, all of this is just so dirty because we took 3 weeks off and a lot of this sat on the ground. We got tons of rain, weather was rough, so there is some sand here, but next good rainstorm we have will wash that off and things will start looking a little better. You can also see here, working in springtime, everything you see there is pollen, and pollen is extremely slick. I can stand comfortably on this clean steel. It's 512, I can stand up there no problem. If I get on that 512 and stand up, I will slowly slide right off of that. So anyway, that's probably going to wrap up this video. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, If you're enjoying these videos, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Send us a comment if you got any questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.